Hello, Spanker here, and we're on part 4 of our Around the World tour. We recently landed at Rio Grande, Sierra Alpha Whiskey Echo. Our next leg is a jaunt over to the Falkland Islands, so we're going to be taking off from whichever's the active, not sure which it is yet, flying about 50 degrees. We're going to pick up this waypoint Diggis here, make a right there and follow this low route over the Falklands, over Mount Pleasant, which is the British military base on the Falklands, and then we're going to drop into Port Stanley, which is Sierra Foxtrot Alpha Lima. It's looking at 400 miles is the distance, so 3.5 hours possibly, depending on wind. I could have flown direct if I could have flown this route, the higher route, flown direct. But what I want to do is, as we make this right turn, I'm going to drop in low and have a look at the Falkland Islands, look at the scenery, drop in low and fly manually over these before we get into Mount Pleasant and then into Stanley. What I'm also going to do is, I've done on the first 3 trips, I've shown the startup procedure for the DA-42. We're not going to bother that. I'm just going to jump straight into just before takeoff, started, fueled and whatever, and just before takeoff we will take off. This bit is probably going to be boring. I'll cut that out. If there's anything interesting over here, if not, we'll cut that out and then we'll do the approach and landing. So hopefully the video will be a little bit shorter than the 30-40 plus minutes we've had for the first 3. I will see you all in the sim. Okay, we're back in this sim. We are just backtracking down runway 25, ready for takeoff to our destination at the Falklands. We've got quite a strong wind. We've got a 36 knot wind, which is just about down the runway, so it shouldn't cause as much of a problem. And the good news is I've fixed the pedal issue that I've been having, so now the sensitivity is right down to where it should be. Bit of a curve on it, that's all I needed. I wonder if I've got enough runway there. I hope I have. I think with a 37 knot, 36, 37 knot wind, it shouldn't be a problem. So here we go. Let's see if these pedals really are working. I think I've fixed it. Full throttle. That's much better on them pedals. And we're already at our flying speed, out by the wind. Okay, let's bring up them wheels. I don't know what's happened there. Something happened there. Our GPS is set. So first waypoint we're going to Diggis, I think it is. So we'll get onto that pretty quickly now. Wind's very strong. Hopefully we've got tailwind because we have 258 miles to Diggis and probably another 140 miles into Port Stanley after that. And it's extremely bumpy at this point. And we've hardly got anywhere. But hopefully this wind will be behind us, so we should be able to make some good time. through 1800 feet now. Pull them lights off. And we're at 2,000 feet with a 51 knot tailwind while it's going up. Some wild conditions down here. (161 knots ground speed, but only showing 109, 110 knots on the airspeed. Right, we're going to pull the autopilot on. I think we'll go up to about 9,000 feet and turn that nav on. Should smooth out the bumpiness rather than my manual flying. Bit of cloud cover there, just jumped in. We have fueled up. I fueled up. There's a fueling point at that Port Stanley, so I just nipped to that before I took off. So plenty of fuel. Yeah, we're currently on 7.2 gallons per hour on the climb. 672 mile range at this rate, but once we get to the top of the climb that'll come straight down to probably on about 4 gallons per hour, so we can get quite a good range on it. Winds level down, calm down a little. There's our last airport. Just pull that power back a little bit. And 91%. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we're in obviously the midst of a climb now. It doesn't look like it's going to be anything interesting until we get to the Falklands, to our first sight land, so I'm going to pause the video now and I'll catch up with you later. Welcome to the Falkland Islands. We've already cleared the West Falkland Island. This is the East Falkland Island we're flying over now. We're about, let's have a look, 34 miles from the military, RAF military base at Mount Pleasant, I think it is. Is it Mount Pleasant? Might be getting that wrong. Still got a very strong tailwind, and this is pretty much how I would imagine the Falklands. Desolate. Not much here, to be honest. There may be some more as we get near to the Air Force Base. There is a few roads though. I've noticed there's a road here. Oh, we have some lightning then. There's a storm about. So the journey was uneventful-ish. We had quite a lot of rain, very gusty winds. That's an interesting hill over there. Some quick facts about the Falklands that I know, and being British myself. It's a British territory, overseas territory. I think it's got a population of about 3,000 people live here. And I did read somewhere pretty recently that there are 167 sheep for every person who lives here. Falklands are most famous for the war against Argentina in 1982, where the Argentinians invaded the Falklands as they claimed that they belonged to Argentina. The British weren't having that, sent out a force and retook the islands from the Argentinians. What is unknown is that on a couple of occasions prior to 1982, the British thought that it would be better for Argentina to actually take over the Falklands because of the cost of running this overseas territory. And even, I think, late 70s, 78, 79, they were in discussions with Argentina, and the British government really wanted Argentina to take control of them. And these talks collapsed in around 81. Went on for a few years. It collapsed in 81, and the Argentinians decided that, you know, sod the talks, we'll just go and take them myself. And that was the British weren't having that. The British culture doesn't like to be walked over like that, so they regardless of whether they were in a better position, if economic position, if Argentina took it over, they weren't going to let them. So I think 2009 they had a referendum on these islands, asked the people, do you want to be controlled by Argentina, and it was a 99.8% vote of no. Argentina don't recognise this, obviously. They don't recognise the Falklands as being part of the negotiation, so they're saying that the referendum is worthless and they still want these Falkland Islands back. I'm a bit impartial, you know. My view is totally, if the people want to be controlled by Argentina, let them. If they don't, go away. But it's going to argue on it. So it's been argued for the past probably 80 years, back and forth for a long time. It is a place I would like to visit. Just I really like desolate places like this, and when you look at this place on Google Maps, it's extremely desolate. But it is somewhere I would like to go at some point. It's also probably the most dangerous piece of British land in the world. There's 25,000 or so, maybe 20,000 landmines still in this area from the 1982 war that the Argentinians had placed when they invaded the islands. So it is it's quite renowned that sheep get blown up quite often standing on these mines. I don't know if there's been any human fatalities except when they were clearing some in the 80s. I think clearing some mines, a couple of people were injured, and I think there may be a few killed, a couple of the military. I think for that reason they postponed a lot of the mine clearance, and it's only within the past 10 years that they've started to re-clear them again. Horrible weapon mines. Right, so this is this base we're coming up on now is the RAF base, which was built after the 82 war. This was built to hold a larger garrison of troops. I think at any one time there's probably around between 13 and 1500 military personnel on this island. So there's half of the civilian population, there are in troops. So I think really the day-to-day population is more around 4,500 maybe. Looks like we've got some typical British weather here. So we're still on autopilot. I've dropped to 3,500 feet so we can have a look what the terrain is like around here. We're in towards Port Stanley. Now this runway here is going to be our alternate, because Port Stanley doesn't have any instrument landing facilities, so if we do get fogged in, I'm going to divert to this alternate here. Storm closing in, see if we can get down before the storm. I think it is to the right of us. I think it's over here somewhere. It might be right actually underneath it. So I'm making a left now to head towards Port Stanley. Still got a very strong wind, tailwind, which has enabled us to get here a lot quicker than I expected. It's probably been less than 2 hours. I was planning 3.5, and obviously we've been at a ground speed of over 200 knots most of the way. So as we come over here, Port Stanley is not far away now, probably, well, there we go, it's Sierra Foxtrot Alpha Lima, 27 miles, a speed about 7 minutes, so looks like we might just beat this storm to get in there. But I just love the desolation of this place. There's nothing for miles and miles. Wing tanks have emptied, but we've still got 600 mile range. Should be more now, just throttle back a little bit. At least it's not snowing. Local time's 17:10. Just wondering if we could get back to the mainland before sunset. I don't know what time sunset is at this latitude, so I don't really want to fly around at night, although you know, an evening twilight takeoff and landing might be interesting. I'm not going to do much of the full tour of the world at night because you can't see anything. 19.5 miles to run. It's very hazy over there. 200 miles, sorry, 200 knots ground speed. I've got a feeling this is going to be a bumpy approach as well when we turn back into that wind. I can see the sun there, so I don't know, it's obviously going down towards the west. And we've got some potential here of having to use our alternate. So the destination's just popped up on my GPS. $13 miles. I think it'll be alright once we get a little bit lower. Okay, it shouldn't be long before we get a visual on our runway. I think the runway runs east-west, roughly. Once we get a visual, I'll decide how we're going to join the pattern. So I'm probably just going for a left downwind, so if you're on my GPS it should be pretty much on the nose, and then I'll disengage autopilot and manually fly left hand circuit entering at downwind. I think obviously because the wind's coming from behind us, I'll be landing the opposite way to what we are now. Now it should just be on this little peninsula thing here. There, I think I can just see that coming into view now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is disengage the autopilot and reset track IR and just make sure that the trim is neutral, and pull that power back a little bit now to start dropping. So there's the runway, and we're very high, so we'll go for a, I haven't timed this descent well, speed's coming down now. Well, I'll just have to do a long final, I think. Once I turn back into wind, we'll have a slight crosswind on this runway, but once I turn back into wind, we'll just slow right up. We'll be able to drop quite rapidly. Not loaded any procedures, approach procedures in there. Flight director's on for the heading. So if it gets a bit foggy, we might have to do what we did in the first episode. But I doubt it'll be. I doubt it'll be that bad, to be honest. Thunder. Thunder is getting louder. Right, so we're going to flick on our landing lights. So we'll do a quick circle, see if I so we've still got this big strong tailwind, so I don't want to lose visual go too far and lose the visual when I've with no ILS. So you can just see that peninsula where the runway is just behind that. If you have to go around, I'll go around. And I haven't touched power, then that's the wind making that engine noise change. Speed suddenly jumped up to 115 knots, but the ground speed's down to 70 knots. Right, I'm going to so look, can we see where the runway is? It should be just over there somewhere. I'm going to drop a stage of flaps, I think. And I'm going to drop the landing gear. Get some drag. Right, I've got the runway in sight now. Like I predicted, it's quite bumpy. .54 knots ground speed, so we've got very little penetration at all now. It looks like the runway is aligned with this coastline here, which is helpful. Down to less than 1,000 feet, so 700 feet, and that wind is still very high. So just curve that descent a little bit. far too low. So we're from too high to too low very quickly. We are getting thrown about a little bit. It looks like we have a glitch on the Orbix world textures there. Wall of water. Right, stop raining now. The wind's just slightly off the runway, so not quite on it. Just hit the wrong button for flaps. Lifted the gear, but we're alright now. Yeah, so we've got this unfortunate glitch here. And we've still got a 50 knot wind. Not close to 50 knots, 45 knots. And it's all over the place. Whoa. That was bouncing. I think we landed at about 30 knots ground speed then, but we got a massive amount of sink right on the threshold. It just dropped like a brick. I'd affect with a bit of wind shear that. But we're down in one piece. Let's go and park it up. And there's nothing here. Don't seem to be any taxiways or parking available, so we're just going to park on this other runway. It's only a short runway, that one. Park it up here. Okay, that will do. Flip that parking brake on, and the next episode we're going to fly back to Argentina. That'll probably be just as exciting as this video, to be honest. So I probably won't see you in that video, but thanks for watching.